And good evening to you joining us here on the Marcy Week Show this Monday evening of November the 18th, 2024. A pleasure to have you joining us again tonight and encourage you to share, share, share. Of course, you know that's what we appreciate you doing. And of course, giving us that thumbs up, that like on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And we'd be so grateful. We have so much to share with you, the Civil Society of Barbados. And of course, we want to hear your voices, and God willing, depending on how things go, we might get that done tonight. I'm not 100% sure. But nevertheless, we are here with you this evening, and I'm grateful again to be back with you. Last night, I had the unexpected privilege of being with you, but tonight, as usual, I'm here for the Monday evenings. I think I missed last Monday night because we were during the morning into the afternoon period at the Organization of American States building, where we represented myself, Timon, Donald, Shaquani, and Julio represented the Civil Society of Barbados with regards to the cybercrime bill that is being brought before the House of Assembly here and the Senate in Barbados. And then in the evening, myself and Timon were at another event, and really a great event. And we were so appreciative of our host facilitating that time that we spent with them. Excuse me. But it's my joy to be back with you again tonight and to welcome you, the loyal opposition, to Ronnie Hall. Thank you for shouting us out so often and so well. Thank you to Ronnie and Judy Jill, Cecilia Miller, Serlene Clark. A blessed evening to you as well. Monica Ince and Jacqueline Aline. A pleasure to have you with us, Owen Hines. Always good to have you, Owen. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Philadelphia. Well, wow. Thank you for being here at the show this evening. Camillus Lewis, a shout out to you as well. Michael Harewood, Michael Gills. I think I shouted Jacqueline Aline already. Did I? Jacqueline Serlene Clark. Really a joy to have every single one of you with us. Of course, there is Marcia. She's going to keep me on my toes with that national anthem. M. Gardner and Beverly Prescott, Vernon Garnes. Just getting me a sip of water here. Your internet was horrible last night, Marcia. I understand a number of people had challenges with the internet last night. Mildred Ben, good night to you as well. Mac Bolan and Lemuel Tull, good evening. Sandra Watkins, you know, Sandra, I used to know Basil and Harry Watkins. And back in those days, we used to do a lot of racing at the Bushy Park site. It was Basil and Harry in the Holden Tarana GTR XU1s. We were in the Holden Monaro 350 GTS. Of course, we had Andrew Phillips in the Vauxhall Ventura, and we had Brugadon Johnson in the 3-liter V8, 3.5-liter V8 Escort. Of course, many of you all wouldn't know anything about that, but I am the car guy. All right. So, Sandra, great to have you with us. Sonia Olton, pleasure to have you with us as well tonight. Graham Husbands, and of course, Sir Alfred Benjamin. You know, Sir Alfred, I was so sorry. I don't know how close you are to Washington, D.C., but I did remember that you were in the Brooklyn area. I just didn't know where. So I couldn't even shout you out. All right. So maybe the next time I'm up, you never know. I may be there sooner than you think. Lyric Lewis Jilts, a pleasure to have you. Good night to you as well. Mac Bolan, pleasure to have you with us. Excuse me. Oh, well, I don't know, Sandra. Sandra, listen, one thing I learned about Bajans is that there are a lot of them all over the place. And I'm not going to say anything more than that. You know, I actually ran into a gentleman. I was putting in gas in the gas station at the top of Southern Main Road in Trinidad, junction of Kirep. And a gentleman looked at me when he heard my accent. He said, "You're a Barbadian." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "You know, my grandfather's from Barbados, and he's a Trini." And apparently, his grandfather had gone to the Panama Canal when they were building it, and he, excuse me, he was I don't know what happened. Okay, don't. I'm not going to get into that. That is not anything for me to get into. I am not going there. All right. So all I know is he said his grandfather was from Barbados, but he's Trinidadian. Mac Bolan, Freddie Mapp. Yes, I remember Freddie and oh, my MA 100. I can't remember his name right now. MA 100. It was a white Ford Escort GT. He used to work with the insurance company. I can't remember which one. Oh, dear me. Bonita Medford. Your workplace CA was responsible. I don't know. You have to complete that one so you'll understand what you're saying. Lincoln Waterman. Yes, Graham, that is the name, man. Lincoln Waterman. Yeah, we have to used to have some exciting times at Bushy Park back in those days when you had to be able to drive to handle a car. Today they got so many driving assistants, things that will keep you on the road, traction control, anti stability control, and traction, and anti-lock brakes, and all these different kind. Back in those days, if you didn't know how to drive, you were off in the cane field. That was before they actually put up the fence. A number of guys used to go through the canes. They used to have the hammer bend, and the kink. The kink was just before they got to the hammer bend. Boy, I tell you, and you used to see. Yes, that's true, Bonita. True, true, true. Um, Caribbean Airways. Yes, we had our own airlines. You all remember those days? We had our own airline, Barbados, Caribbean Airways. And I flown it a couple of times, but thank God, uh, you know, we survived a lot of things back in those days. I'll tell you. Yep, Lincoln Waterman, and there was a whole group of guys that I mean were drivers, man, and Bobby Gill, and the other Gill. Bobby was the one with the Mini Cooper, and his brother, who's I think is still alive, he does all the floral stuff and whatnot. Michael Gill, I think, if I remember it correctly, Michael Gill. He was the guy with the space frame. You all remember the space frame? Yeah, Graham. You remember the space frame and the Formula 3. The Terrapin. You remember that? I tell you, those were the days, my friend. We thought they'd never end. But listen, we are beginning this evening, not ending. We are now beginning. And I had such a great time with you last night. You know that walk back through memory lane. And we're going to do some of it again this evening. I hope you enjoyed it last night. And we're going to do a little walk back through memory lane tonight, too, with a couple of Alfred Pragnell clips and a couple of other songs. But so many of you mentioned, or several of you really mentioned, that you really enjoyed the national anthem that was played last night. I'm going to begin with that this evening, and I like it. I love the kids, and I like to see the camaraderie of everybody coming together, because that's what the country is about. The country is about people coming together. It's not about Barbados Labour Party and Democratic Labour Party and APP or any UPP or any. It's about the Barbados as a country, and I believe my friend, let me see if I can get his name here. Mark Lord will be on with me tonight, singing that great song, Barbados, My Country. And so we're going to be looking forward to having him with us tonight. All right, so let me go to the first one, and that of course will be the Barbados national anthem. Let me go to that one, and let us all stand at attention for the playing of the national anthem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the anthem of Barbados.
Time of need, when this fair land was young, our brave forefathers sowed the seed from which our pride is sprung.
This
Christian spirit, with expectations great. Strict guardians of our heritage, firm captain of our faith.
Trident Pride.
Wow, 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 wow. Our national anthem, our national anthem. And then, of course, our pledge. And I want to invite you to join me with the recitation of our pledge. I pledge allegiance to Barbados, my country, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. I thank God this evening I am a Barbadian. I was born here. I have lived here, traveled a lot, yes, but I'm very proud of my country, proud of all of the accomplishments and achievements of all of our people, regardless of who they are and where they are. There are many Barbadians contributing significantly um, that are not celebrated. You know, sometimes we only look at one or two people, and and our national heroes, and we think that they're the only people, but there are a lot of people that are Barbadians that are around the world that need to be celebrated. I have been traveling for the last several years in and out of the Cayman Islands, and I can tell you, the police force and the teaching profession there in Grand Cayman significantly affected and impacted by the Barbadian community there in Grand Cayman and Little Cayman, Cayman Brac. And I am so proud that when I'm there, I am a Barbadian, and so many doing so much around the world, in the United States, United Kingdom, in Italy, in France, in Australia, New Zealand, in South America, all over the world. And you know what? A lot of things that you don't know about. Wardy Simpson, that would be Kiffin Simpson's son. I know him very well. He's a Barbadian. And he is the CEO of God TV. That is the largest international Christian television network on the planet. And guess who's in charge of it? A Barbadian. And, we celebrate all the other, well, I shouldn't say all the other. We are very selective. I am almost tempted to say discriminating in how we celebrate our Barbadians. But I want you to know that there are a lot of Barbadians around the world that are contributing significantly to other countries and really doing our nation proud. And I want to thank God for all of them that do so much in not just traveling, and shaking hands with the hoity-toities and that type of thing. They're actually making significant contribution to other countries around the world. And we need to celebrate them. We need to hail them out. We need to honor them. And we need to recognize them whenever we are, able to. I see Mr. Alfred Benjamin that is on here almost every time we come on this show. Adrian Hines, they're in the United States of America, contributing to the development of the United States, and they are Barbadians, and I believe they are proud Barbadians. And I believe that within the area of their profession, in the area of their contribution, that they are significantly recognized. And the Barbadian diaspora, we have a number of great people around the world doing a lot of great things on the behalf of other countries, and they are Barbadians. So we want to celebrate you tonight. We thank you for being such a tremendous testimony for our country. We really appreciate you this evening, all of you in the diaspora. Of course, last week when we represented the civil society, myself, Taroni, and Donald and Shakwani represented the civil society of Barbados. We were there, and I was so grateful to be able to be a part of that tremendous grouping. I keep calling him Taroni, but I know I have a Taroni here, so let me make sure I don't go and I don't go and let me make sure I don't go and take away his thunder. All right, so we had a great team, though, a wonderful, wonderful team. And the diaspora came in from as far south as Florida. Could you believe that? People drove from as far south as Florida. and from around the area. And I was so grateful. We didn't have to spend a fortune in terms of transportation. You know, there were people there. Timon, that's the correct name, not Tironi. Timon, I apologize, Timon. I need some licks. It's Timon, you know, and a proud team that we had, really, really great team, and we thank God. We really, really thank God for them. Amen. Really appreciate them. Now, somebody has drawn it to my attention. You know, I did up the show tonight, this evening, and I was so busy doing so many things that I spelled when we lose our faith, they lose their power. I spelled it wrong, and they drew it to my attention. When we lose our faith, they lose their power. But it's when we lose, okay? Just want to make that clear. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. I don't know why one of you all didn't message me earlier and tell me about that so I could correct it. Anyhow, don't tell my mother about it, for goodness sake. Whatever you do, don't tell my mother. All right, please. Whatever you do, don't tell her, because she'll be very upset with me tonight to hear that I did not spell correctly, considering the fact that I used to win a lot of spelling bees, you know. So, anyhow, thank God. Just don't tell her. All right. Thank you very, very much. Well, listen, let's move on to another couple of. You know, I want to share one by Alfred Prygnell. Okay, I want to share one by Alfred Prygnell, and this one is entitled "The Way to a Man's Heart." All right, so let's hear what Alfred has to share with us this evening. The way to a man's heart.
I got three confused people to introduce to you. Hushfield, Gwenny, and Dora, you're going to hear who is who.
Five hours ahead. Sean, first of all, condolences.
If it's passing, it really has.
Okay, I seem to think I seem to think that I'm missing something somewhere. So let me try this again. I seem to think that I'm missing something somewhere. So let me try this again. Okay, let me try this all over again. I want to make sure I get this correct. All right, so let's try this again. Yeah, I need I need that, Marcy. Remember I told you all about monkey handling gun? I told you all about that. You know, it's good when Dave is here and he's in the back room. He's not here tonight, but let me tell you something. You know, I'm learning. But that's the truth. I'm learning. Okay, so let me see. if I can get it going again. So just confirm that you're hearing it and hearing the proper thing. All right, here we go.
I got 3 confused people to introduce to you. Hushfield, Gwenny, and Dora, you're going to hear who is who. When Hushfield using Dora, Gwenny shop she mouth in too. I must be something in the village beer dumplings in the stew.
Gee, darn brave. Look my house door.
Say that again, Hushfield. I can't hear you too good. Look a whole house.
You deaf or what? I said look my house. You hear me now? Look my house. What belongs to Dora belongs to me. I put that ring on she finger, you know. I Hushfield Ignatius Broom, not King Kong.
Don't get so touches more. I only ask a simple question. The way you getting on, anybody would think you had razors for lunch. Oh, but I forget you had your lunch yet. That's the trouble. Your dear beloved Dora Dukes tell me you don't eat till 3 on a Sunday. So I suppose you wait until later to champalize them dumplings and stew pork. The same food I buy and she cook for you.
Look, a woman, don't get me hot here. Don't get in my business. I is a very funny man, some here. I don't skylark you.
The two wanna quarrel again? Wanna want the Lord, you know.
I ain't wanting a lord. This sister of yours thinks she could come and live in my house and pass remarks by me, but she ain't know me for true. Dora, you better tell she I is one man don't make sport.
Say so again. Say so again. Hushfield Broom, you think I'm fighting for you? I miss true you look like Godzilla, but me jinx you like you forget I is a dangerous woman.
I ain't forget you's a licorice one, though. The people ain't use it to call you the Bellland Bellyologist for nothing, I know that. But if you think you come back from up in England to live in my house and eat me out, you
live in
really...
who house, Hushfield? Eat out who? Well, you was a joke for true.
Gwenny Rice, I'm warning you here. Me and Dora was getting on very good till you say you coming back from England. I doesn't intend for nobody hear what I tell you. Nobody. To live in here and get in my business, sister-in-law or no sister-in-law, mind your mouth.
All right, Hushfield. Don't carry things so far. The two one does make me sick. Can't agree for 5 minutes. Hushfield, you is my husband. And Gwenny is my sister. And if all of we gonna be living underneath one roof, let me try and live in peace too. Nobody obliged to know I buy the house with the money their Aunt Clarice left. We must try and live in harmony. Not like cat and dog. Hey, but look at my crosses now. I ask a simple question, and all I hear is who don't skylark, who living like cat and dog, and all kind of foolishness. But let me tell you, Joanna, I is an independent woman. I am bound to live at nobody. I thank the Almighty that He looked after me these last 12 years I was up in England, that I could come back to Barbados with a few warm dollars in the bank. I'm begging nobody for nothing. Praise Jehovah, nobody darn rice, ready rice, right. Miss a nice little house door, Dora. There aren't Clarice money in waste. Child, I was saying the sad very thing to myself just now when I looked round. That lumber company really do something for we poor people when they start up with these neat little houses. They're real good for the price.
I hope that means you done humbugging me about moving one of these days to Rendezvous Gardens or Rock Something Park. I always tell you, Dora, living contentment is great gain here. Don't mind how things look. Enough of them people living in them posh places could hardly buy wilks when the week come, you know. Like some people I know stop up in England for umpteen years somewhere rat hole when they come back to pomp or setting them for licks like this boring self. This time they're glad enough to get a scotch in somebody's back room.
Hushfield Broom, you best know your place. And you could stop skinning your teeth like some roast dog too. I know you're trying to get at me, but I has to remind you that every stick of furniture in this new house come up the said very rat hole up in England. The onlyest thing you bring in here is your 2 long hand, the old musty lambskin on top your head, and the 2-piece old clothes that look like they come out of jumble sale. But you don't go and mind the buggy lamp you got for face and left out me.
Granny hush now. You ain't bound forget answer.
For true?
Before he went away, the people about here used to have a verse about me. Granny Royce would dose the dead. Granny Royce in no sweet bread. And be jinxed 12 years up in England, don't mean I find a cover up there for my mouth.
You ain't find a cover for your mouth, but I hope you find a cast for your neck. The strings in it would make a guitar look foolish. Ha ha!
Don't mind my neck. Take my foolish advice and don't pass near the meat market. Cause if you barely miss and brush too close to the counter, somebody bound to mistake you out for £1.50 of liver.
Look, I had sufficient foolishness from one and now. Hushfield, go along out the house. Go and play dominoes or something and come back for your food in an hour.
It's only for you sake, Dora. I ain't going to worry with this whole warrior. I can go and see if Armand done fixing the motorcycle, but I coming back with 2:30, so don't let the bell and belly all just get near my food, do. She bound to make them dumplings snort.
And who is to make them snort? Not the body that put the stove in the house and pay for the food this week to be size. Look at Mr. Man Hall yourself, though.
All right, Granny, leg along, ne? I'm going to eat back and crab mash couple piece of clothes. You can help yourself to some food. A little bit, do. Ironing does make you hot enough. Granny child, you was telling me this morning how Vidalia Simmons still so foolish. How a big blokey body like she could say she wearing palazzo pants. The people up in England must be holler for murder. But she had them on though.
At Kensington Town Hall, child, some Jamaicans had a dance there a couple months ago, and Vidalia was there in the red palazzo pants. She looked just like a runaway elephant. Making a sport. She had on a red, white, and blue bodice with Gatsby sleeves, if you please.
What kind of sleeves? Gats who?
Wait, you never hear about Gatsby sleeves. You real late for true. Them is the sleeves with gathers at the shoulder. You know the ones I mean?
Oh, But how a big able body like Vidalia could say she wearing them?
How you meaning? I miss true the old people used to say it can be ugly and foolish, but Vidalia nothing to do with that. When looks was sharing, she stopped home. And when there was gay wear sense, Vidalia must he was on the bed. She's the onlyest body that was seen nothing wrong with putting she big stiff arm in Gatsby sleeves. She had some pink powder plaster on but she face too. Enough green thing on she eyes and purple lipstick. I nearly squealed out when I said she she did look like carnival fate.
Vidalia was always a puppet when it comes to dressing. Remember the time years ago when she went to some dance at the YMPC in plaid pedal pushers and polka dot shoes?
What does he said very night Nesta Rochford and Toots Manville had a fight over Sylvester Bag.
You mean when Toots stopped Nesta with a big rock?
And Nesta hit Toots with his shoe heel in the back part of she head and Sylvester called the police for all two of them. Who could forget that?
These particulars, Toots and Nesta ran the poor police out the place.
And then they're up and some good blows in Sylvester.
But how was the night done there?
The 29th of December was a Saturday night to remember when Big Fat got Sylvester get blows from Toots and Nesta.
Oh, you could remember that rhyme after all these years.
I'm sorry, you know I don't forget nothing. That's the very reason Hushfi could never bear the best bone in me, cause I would never let you forget that when you married to he even had a good suit of clothes on his back. Remember how he used us to come by the house looking like some loopy dog?
But Granny, them days done and gone. Poor Hushfield had him easy, you know. He too bad lucky with work.
Poor Hushfield, bad lucky with work? Because he got somebody to support he all these years. Don't you think it look good? A big stiff nigger man like Hushfield won't go out and look for a job? You mean to tell me no the crop on he can't earn a few honest dollars time non crop over? You just encouraging and I have to tell you so, Anita. Anyhow, so that's you foolish business. I was to tell you though, these stew pork and dumplings taste real nice. Hey, look at your beloved coming through the gate now.
He back early. He must have was too hungry to stop longer.
Dora, I'll get back. I was helping on with the motorcycle. I could now eat my food. No, don't worry. I can take it out the pot myself. And die. Let me see my dumplings and stew pork, though. I hope you make enough gravy. You liquor sister Granny must make the stew. Wait, Dora? What the Dora?
What happened, Hushfield?
Come on.
The gravy dry up?
Look here for yourself. Look here for yourself. Look.
No, this ain't true. I don't believe.
Lord, deliver me.
Somebody better deliver you. I come home for my food and look at
The
this.
whole food, Hushfield. Remember you said the people in used to call me the bellyologist for nothing? I'll go and catch 40 winks more. Don't make the windpipe snort here.
Let me tell you something. I don't want you hungry.
Well, I tell you, that is some real old time Bajan colloquial talk, man. I tell you some references there I have not even heard in my lifetime. I'm telling you, but that is Pragnell at his best. I mean, absolutely fantastic. I used to enjoy that. Folk, this is for those of you who may be wondering. You're joining us maybe for the first time tonight, I don't know, but we're doing this month of Bajan Spirit and celebrating independence. November the 30th is Independence Day, okay? And we are taking this month through the Marcy Week show to celebrate the Bajan Spirit and to celebrate our national independence for the entire month of November. So we're pulling out some of these old songs and some of these old Bajan characters and old Bajan storytellers and so on, and just enjoying what Barbados has had down through the years. All right. Well, here's another one, and by someone I am sure you all really, really know, and I used to enjoy his music so very much. And this would be Mr. Mark Lord, My Country to Me.
My country to me is the sense of feeling free and having the right to speak your mind out. That is my country to me. It is the air I breathe. I'm so proud to be born here, and the love and beauty that surround us, we share it day by day. That is my country to me. I will not look down. I will always keep my head up high and share with pride and industry. And people will always respect what Barbados means to me. My country to me is the children's laughter and genuinely loving each other. That is my country to me. It is the air I breathe, and I'm proud to be born here, and the love and beauty that surround us, we share it day by day. That is my country to me. I will not look down. I will always keep my head up high and share with pride and industry. And people will always respect what Barbados means to me. What is my country to me? Yeah, that is Barbados to me. My country.
Wow, wow, some great, great music, and this is one of the reasons that we are fighting this cybercrime bill the way that we are. To give the artists, to give the entertainers, to give average Barbadian citizens the right to express themselves freely. We are aware of the fact that freedom of expression and freedom of speech doesn't mean you can do what you like. I once heard a old preacher say, freedom is not the right to do what you want, but it's the power to do what you ought. And I want to repeat that. Freedom is not the right to do what you want, but it's the power to do what you ought. And I've lived with that freedom. I don't do things because I have the power to do it. And that's one of the things, one of the things that the cybercrime bill addresses is the matter of bullying. And for there to be bullying, it means that there has to be an individual who has greater power and greater capability than another. And if that is the case, I want to suggest to us that the Barbados government, through this cybercrime bill, is seeking to bully the citizens of Barbados, the civil society of Barbados, the entire makeup of this country. Listen to what Mark Lord says. He says, "My country, to me, genuinely loving each other people will always respect my country." This is what he expressed in that song, and we have a responsibility to protect that. We have a responsibility to protect that for our future, for our children and for our children's children. And if we allow, as citizens of this country, this cybercrime bill to pass in its present state, then we are going to have some problems in our country. And one of the most ridiculous things is that the government doesn't even seem to understand and recognize that the only place you have protection is in Parliament and Senate. But if you come outside of Parliament and Senate and you hear anything over social media networks, Facebook, YouTube, or anything that offends me, hurts my feeling, or whatever, I will take legal action against you. I will take legal action against ministers of government. I will take legal action against members of Parliament outside of Parliament. And I will take you to court and make sure you get locked up for 10 years. So be foolish enough to pass the bill with all that stupidness in it, and you will find yourself sitting in a jail cell with some other people that you thought you could have silenced them and shut them up to. Because I remember during one election, a lot of name calling being bandied around, folk being called one thing and folk being called another, which is disgusting to me, because there are people made in the image of God, they're human individuals, and they're Barbadians. You have no right to be chastising and abusing another Barbadian in those kind of manners. So I will tell you, we are going to continue the fight. And I'll tell you, you know what? I want to play a couple of videos for you tonight, because you need to hear why it is. One of the reasons that these people, and I don't know, I will play a video with a young man, and maybe somebody needs to take this young man aside and teach him common sense and teach him proper decorum, okay? Because a lot of these guys don't understand, don't know, don't grasp that you're just doing what you like. You understand what I'm saying? And we have legislation in this country ready to deal with defamation. You can't go out and say what you like about people, or you can be prosecuted. Legal action can be taken against you for defamation of a person's character. And when you look at the cybercrime bill and you realize that for something that may hurt your feelings and may offend you, you're going to want to take me to court. And if you win the case, I have to pay $100,000 and or 10 years in jail. There is not or 10 years in jail. It says and or, which means I may have to pay $100,000 plus spend 10 years in jail. An ordinary citizen now criminalizing because I hurt your feelings. Seriously? Are you serious about this? The government can't be serious about this, but I can let you hear for themselves, for yourself. All
To
right?
you all in here today as
Listen to this.
comrades all. When we see the kinds of attacks that are being mounted against our comrades, because that is what they are, Minister Wilfred Abrams is the Honorable Wilfred Abrams and the member for Christchurch East, but Mr. Wilfred Abrams, I know, will agree that he is our comrade. And when Comrade Wilfred Abrams is assaulted...
Wait a minute. What comrade? He's a Bajan. He's a Barbadian. That's who he is. And he's in government. And I reserve the right to criticize Mr. Wilfred Abrams. If he's doing a sloppy job, I will criticize him. If he's not representing the people of his constituency appropriately, I will criticize him. If he's not representing the people of Barbados properly, in my opinion, I will criticize him. What Conrad? He hasn't changed being a Barbadian. If you want to hold them stupid fancy terms for your party, that's your business. But as far as I am concerned, he's a Barbadian. Let's go on and hear some more.
Verbally and otherwise on the internet, or when Comrade McConney or any member of this party, it falls to the faithful of the Labour Party to get up and say, no, we will not stand by and let you do that.
So, to be absolutely clear, we have designed legislation to stop Comrades Abrahams, McConney and other BLP members of Parliament from being assaulted.
And
nobody says that you stand by. We are not standing by. But you are going to suggest that we are assaulting you. I didn't lay a finger on you. But you're going to claim I'm assaulting you with my mouth? If what I'm saying is a lie or truth, take me to court for defamation. But make sure that what I'm saying is a lie. Because if it's truth, you're going to lose the case. And the reality is, if you want to take a poll, let's take a poll in the constituencies and see how the people in the constituencies feel about the representation of their parliamentary representatives. These ministers seem to think that they can come into office and conduct their business and behave how they like once they get into parliament. People take an oath at president's house to represent the people of this country. And then when you get into parliament, you forget your oath and you get now like you're the boss. No, I have said it on this show before, and I will repeat it again. Every member of parliament and every minister, if you don't like it, lump it. You are a servant. That is what you are. You're supposed to wash my feet and tie my shoes if you want me to put it that way. You are a servant of the people. You're not the people's boss. The people are your boss. I watched a video here the other day with former assistant to the people who do border control in the United States of America, and he was before a Congress committee or Senate committee, and one of the members was chastising him. He had to remind them, "You work for me. I don't work for you. You work for me." And that is what the members of parliament and this government need to be reminded of, including the prime minister, with due respect. You work for me. You work for the people of this country. And before you go changing up laws that are going to imprison all of us, have proper consultation. Don't have a town hall meeting. Have a town hall meeting about the cybercrime bill. And be prepared to answer questions. And don't bring in a colonial representative to represent the Barbadian populace or the Barbadian government, because the Barbadian government is not you. It is not the 29 of you sitting in the House of Assembly. It is the people of Barbados, who is the Barbados government, who have chosen you to represent them. And this is what you have forgotten. You have forgotten your oath when you took it at President's house, and you are not presenting yourself on the behalf of the people of Barbados. But I'm going to let this young man go on, and so you will hear all he has to say.
Frankly, we have to do a better job of that, and I'm going to be very straight on with that.
Got to do a better job.
We have to do a better job of that, because...
Going to be straight on.
The others are surprisingly keeping it together at this point to come after us. And
no,
so
he's a little boy. What foolish is this little boy talking about coming after us? You think the people of Barbados got time to come after members of parliament and come after ministers? What we are going to do is to hold you accountable. You ran in the elections in 2022 and 2018 with the concept and presentation to the people of this country to represent them with accountability and transparency. Neither two of those things we have seen worked out properly. You promised the people of Barbados when you ran for elections in 2018 that you were going to have a complete reveal of all of the assets of every member of parliament. Yet you get into parliament and we are now what? We are now 2024, 2018, we are now 8 and 6 is 46 years down the road we are, and we don't know one asset for one single member of parliament up to this point in time. Not one. Not one asset do we know. And you don't need legislation to do that. What you need is honesty and moral fortitude. You had a right to come out and tell the people what your assets were. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for a law or something to pass through Parliament to do that. Step up above that. I heard Michelle Obama say, when they go, we go high. Well, go high and present yourself to the people of Barbados. Not now, because the assets that you have now, you're going to lie to the people of the country, because what you have now is not what you went into Parliament with, because we don't know what you went into Parliament with, because you haven't passed the integrity legislation yet. We don't know what you went into Parliament with, so you're coming out to tell us? That is, if he is talking about going after you, we are going after you on the basis of your failure to be transparent and your failure to be accountable. The people of Barbados have a right, as your master, as your bosses, to tell you to give an account for your performance, and we can call on you to do that anytime. Not at the end of 5 years. We can call on you to do that anytime. All right, so let me be clear on the matter.
If we want the Dems to return to power, then we have to sit down and do nothing. But if, like me, you fear that prospect, and if, like me, you know that that will...
Fear what prospect? Yeah, Barbadians, fear what? If there's anything we fear right now, is a 29-1 majority in the House of Assembly, where government could change the Constitution in their interests and make this country a one-party state. If there's anything Barbadians fear right now, is the current makeup of government, current makeup of Parliament. Okay, so somebody needs to educate this young man, really does.
Spell the death knell of Barbados, then we have to do everything that we can within the bounds of the law to protect our ministers, the members of the parliamentary party, and indeed the party.
So there you have it. From the mouth of babes. We are enacting legislation in order to prevent the return to power of the Dems and to protect the party. Wow. Is that what they are teaching in Roebuck Street?
So you heard it from the horse's mouth. You heard it from the horse's mouth. You know, the tell you out of the, I think the lady ended just now with a saying, out of the mouths of babes and sucklings. So you hear the truth. You hear the truth coming out now. They want to protect. They want to protect their. They want to protect their parliamentarians from who? Was somebody going to assassinate them or kill them or something? You know. So we have. We have a situation where these people seem to have lost it, right? Lost it. You know, I mean, come on, fellas. You know, you hear all this nonsense. You hear all this nonsense being pontificated. But listen, we went up to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, representing the citizens of Barbados, the civil society of this country, which is how it was referred to in the commission. And so we refer to it how the commission referred to it. The commission didn't talk about the citizens of Barbados. The commission talked about the people who came to represent the civil society of Barbados. All right? And I want you to hear what the international community is hearing at present. I want you to hear it for yourself.
annoyance or emotional distress online could now come with a 7-year prison sentence in the country of Barbados. Concerned citizens are stating that the government is trying to intimidate them into forced silence, and the risk of mass censorship worldwide is mounting, and we can't sit idly by. My name is Paul Coleman. I'm a lawyer specializing in human rights and international law. I've worked on the issue of free speech my whole career, and I'm the executive director at ADF International, where we advance the right to live and speak the truth in law, policy, and the public square all around the world. And this week, our team raised concerns about a cybercrime bill threatening to undermine freedom of speech in Barbados before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in Washington, D.C. Now, this proposed law would make it a crime to publish, broadcast, or transmit data that's offensive, or share images or words that are likely to cause or subject a person to ridicule, contempt, or even embarrassment. The bill even lists annoyance and inconvenience as criteria that could lead to a criminal offence. And if successful, this will see peaceful expression criminalised in the name of cybersecurity. Now, while governments, of course, should act to protect their citizens from real crimes that occur online, such as hacking or incitement to imminent violence, they should not be threatening criminal sanctions to protect people from alleged annoyance. And this sweeping criminalization of online expression is obviously not limited to Barbados. It is happening everywhere. And in every example, we ask the same two questions. How are these terms being defined in law, and who decides what is and is not allowed? In Australia, Billboard Chris voiced his concerns about gender ideology on X, only to be geo-blocked by the Australian e-safety commissioner. In Finland, Päivi Räsänen has spent over 5 years being dragged through the police station and the courts for sharing her deeply held beliefs on marriage and human sexuality on social media platforms. In Egypt, Abdul Baki Saeed Abdo has spent over 2 years in prison for being part of a Facebook group created for those interested in converting to Christianity. And on the list goes. It begins with draconian legislation, exactly like what we're seeing in Barbados, and ends with real people behind bars for crossing a censorship line they couldn't possibly know existed. And that's why we're pushing back against this law in Barbados, and we're standing beside ordinary people on every continent who are being punished for peacefully expressing their beliefs. Will you join us?
Now, that's an international attorney at law, one with common sense, one with a sensible expression in defending the people of this country. On Monday last week, I sat in the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights room, along with my colleagues, and I watched a colonial attorney. And I said this last night, but I have to repeat it. I am not racist. Some of my best friends, some of my good friends are white folk. Some of my good friends are Indians. Some people I know, we have friends who are Rastas. We have friends who are Muslims. I know people who, they're not my personal friends, but we interact and I treat them in the same manner I treat anybody else who are homosexuals or lesbians. But I have my belief system that I believe I have a right to express. And you may not agree with it, but what I have discovered is that the moment in this existence in our world today that I disagree with you, you censor me, you shut me down, and you hate me because you feel that because we disagree, I don't like you. No, we agree to disagree. You know how many people I know that I don't agree with? There are times my brother and my sister don't agree with me, but they're still my brother and my sister, and we still speak. So let's not get on with this foolishness. Okay, I mean, there are folk, even in church, there are folk that we will be having a spiritual discussion or biblical discussion, and sometimes we are passionate about what we're saying. When we're finished, we're still speaking. But what is happening in this cancel culture we live in today, and this woke thing they are pushing around the world, is that the moment you disagree with me, you hate me. No, or I disagree with you, I hate you. Well, my friend, You would have a difficult time with Jesus Christ, I'll tell you that, because he disagreed a lot with a lot of people, but I have heard clearly that he is the epitome of love. But you see, we think that love tolerates foolishness and accepts everything. It doesn't. That strong love of God, you know, God has a very tolerant love. And pardon me getting a little spiritual here, but there's a word for love that we use called agape. And what that word means is that technically God would wipe us off the planet, but he tolerates us. And he works with us to bring us to a place. And that is the kind of love that we have. I don't agree with you. You are at liberty to live however you want. I am at liberty to disagree with your lifestyle. I am at liberty to disagree with your political connections. I'm at liberty to disagree with your enunciations from the political platform or in the House of Assembly. I'm at liberty to do that. But what you want to tell me now is that when I disagree with you or when I criticize you, or as the young man so unintelligently expressed, when I come after you, because I don't know about this coming after anybody. But if I disagree with you, if I think that you're wasting the people's money, if I think you are not being honest with the people of Barbados, if I think that you're going down by a beach and standing up and giving an interview about something that you know is not correct, and I happen to know the facts, as we would have heard Kimar on several occasions express, then you going to come to me and tell me that I don't like you and I'm persecuting you and I am creating an annoyance. Well, my friend, get used to it. Get used to it. We grew up through this. The politicians in Parliament today were the same ones that criticized the government of the day. Suppose the government of the day had enacted this kind of cybercrime bill, you would still be in opposition. As a matter of fact, you'd be in jail. You wouldn't be in opposition. I mean, what foolishness are we hearing? This is nonsense. And we need to, and mind you, let me be clear. We are in support of a bill that will protect the citizens of this country from fraud, protect them from cyberbullying, protect them from people taking advantage or accessing their personal information, which we just had another breach. This is the second breach we had within a couple of months. Another breach in the Barbados government here. So all the time you're trying to get a bill past me, you're minding your business and setting up the kind of cybersecurity that will protect our personal information. We had banks that were accessed. We had a credit union that was breached right here in Barbados over the last couple of months. This is what we are in agreement of those things. Protect the citizens of the country from that. Protect our children from cyberbullying. We're in agreement with that. Protect them from pedophiles online. Protect all of that nasty pornographic images that are sent across. Because you know today a person can Photoshop, I think is what they call it. They can Photoshop an image and put your head on a naked body and circulate it and cause you great embarrassment. But that, I believe, is covered under the Defamation Act. But even if it isn't, we agree with those kind of things. We don't have a problem with that. What we have a problem with is you saying to the people of Barbados that we can't criticize you, that we cannot come after you, if that's what the young man wants to say it. And the people of this country, have a right to come after every government minister because you are not giving an account. You are not telling the people of Barbados what you're doing. Even before you do it, you go off to the jet setting all around the world, a proponent of climate change, filling the atmosphere with jet fumes, going all over the world in the name of climate change, making agreements, signing on to agreements that this country, people in this country know nothing about, have not even been engaged. And I'll tell you something, if I come to the point where I have any say in the matter, and a government minister or prime minister signs on to an agreement without consultation with people of Barbados, I believe you should be put in jail. Because you have a right. Don't have these stupid town hall meetings and Paris speak foolishness and constituency meetings to do what? Use them to tell the people We have a proposal from the UN. We have a proposal from the World Health Organization. We have a proposal from the World Economic Forum. So what? The people in the country are idiots? We had no common sense. The very educational system that you hailed, that you stood up and said that Barbados has one of the best, if not the best, educational systems on the planet, and then you reduce the people to stupidity and ignorance and idiots because you think that they can't understand all of this stuff that you're doing outside in the international world and imposing upon the people of Barbados. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you heard what the gentleman said? This cybercrime bill is not just in Barbados, it's all around the world. It's on Australia, United Kingdom, it's in Egypt, it's in Africa, it's all over the world. Okay, and so we have a situation. We have a situation where these guys, this young man is speaking on the behalf of the Barbados Labour Party, and not one member at that table, not one Conrad, got up and corrected him. Not one. Which, when you don't do it, you agree with it. What to tell you, silence is agreement. Well, every one of them sitting at that table, what they should have done is to have got up and corrected the young man. Because this is the political environment we have always had for the last 58 plus years. We have people were critical of Errol Barrow, people were critical of Tom Adams and his party and the cabinet. People were critical of Erskine Sandiford. They were critical of Bree St. John. They were critical of Owen Arthur. They were critical of David Thompson. They were critical of Frundle Stewart and Erskine Sandiford. Come on, man, grow up. Why doesn't this government grow up? Why don't the members of parliament grow up? And I can call names, people that came through the ranks. And now that you are sitting in parliament with a 29-1 majority, you want to shut up the people of this country from criticizing you? You were your very self criticizing the previous administrations, and you were criticizing them all through their regime. And now you are in a place to receive criticism, according to the young man who speaks on the behalf of your party. You want to shut up the mouths of Barbadian citizens. I am not talking about DLP supporters. Let me tell you something now. I know a lot of Barbados Labour Party supporters who don't agree with this cybercrime bill. A lot of them. And I will tell them, when the time comes to vote, step up to the plate. By the same token, I want to send a warning to the Democratic Labour Party that you are not going to win this government by default. You have to be able to tell the people what will be the alternative you are offering. How are you going to get us out of the economic stinking debt that we are in? What revenue is this country producing? Honestly, tell me. You look at me, you say, but Rev, you're not a politician. You should be preaching the gospel. This is the gospel. This is what it's about. I'm supposed to be protecting the interests, the righteousness and justice of a community. That is what it says about the foundation of God's throne. If I'm a Christian minister, and if any of you watching this or now or in the future are a Christian minister worth your weight, your worth, well, I don't know how to use to refer to worth whatever you're worth, then you would understand that righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne, and that we represent the kingdom of God on the earth, not just to get people into heaven and out of hell. We are supposed to protect the interests of the people, because the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the people and all that dwell therein. So I'm not here just to get people into heaven. I am here to defend the orphans and the widows and the people in this country. That is my spiritual responsibility. That is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that the government and people in politics and politicians would like to get people like me to shut my mouth. That's why they want to pass this cybercrime bill, so that people like Don Leacock, who has a $500,000 or $1 million, million member following on social media and sharing all that he is sharing. That's why they want to shut him up. That's why they want to shut up Timon from his artistic expressions. Mind you, Timon is one of these Gabby kind of people, one of these Mark Lord kind of people, and you remember the calypsos, the stinging bees. We all know the calypsos, brothers, sisters, man. We know. And you want to silence the entertainers from criticizing the government in their music. And you were behind all of this over the years. Now you want to abuse it because the Budapest Convention does not make provision for this stuff. Go read it for yourself. Go Google Budapest Convention and read the Budapest Convention for yourself. I am not going to share it with you. I can, but it is time that as Barbadians, you educate yourself. You get to learn what the Budapest Convention says. You get to learn what the Human Rights Convention, the Human Rights Agreement says for the for the Organization of American States. You get to learn what the Human Rights Charter of Human Rights for the United Nations says, and all of them refer to the fact that you cannot take away people's freedom of expression. You cannot do that. You're violating the freedoms of the people. And yet we can find a bill coming before us, particularly these two sections of 19 and 20, that threaten to criminalize criticism. What insanity is this? And to make matters even more serious, both the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Barbados Bar Association have indicated to the government that this is an overstep of their power and authority. Both of them, and the International Human Rights Commission at the OAS have told the government. I was sitting there. Many of them expressed that it sounded like an overreach, and they encouraged the government to retain dialogue, to continue dialogue on this bill with the civil society of Barbados. I want to warn the government. If you pass this bill and you do not amend the areas that have been expressed, if you do not remove the disproportionate level of fines, you are going to find yourself before an international court. I am warning you. I am warning you. Take it as a threat if you want to take it as a threat. That's entirely up to you. I am giving it to you as a warning because I am telling you now that the citizens of this country will not sit back and allow you to silence their voices. We will not allow that. We will go to the highest court in the world to ensure that our freedoms are maintained. We will not allow you to use your draconic, because we know where it's heading. This is why I've told you all here on the Loyal Opposition that there's a lot of things that are coming into Barbados that do not have their origin in this country. A lot of the economic policies have their origin in the World Economic Forum by a group of people who are not even elected in their countries. Disproportionately stinking rich people who want to dictate to the world their economic and financial destiny and future. And our governments are signing off on every agreement with them. I am not here to tell you that any of our politicians are being paid by them. I can't tell you that. I cannot sit here and say that to you because I have no evidence of that being the case. I do know that there's some other members of other countries and other governmental associations that I have been made to understand are experiencing such a situation. But I don't know that Barbados is experiencing that. I cannot sit here and tell you that any member of parliament, any minister, or the prime minister is being paid by anybody or benefiting financially from any of their activity. I cannot sit here and tell you that because I do not have the evidence to substantiate that position. So I am not even going to express that and tell you anything in that line. But I am saying to you that it is concerning that when I listen to Davos 2020-21, listen to the Davos conferences, it is concerning when I listen to interviews on the United Nations financial interviews on YouTube and listen to some of the things that are being said. It is concerning when I listen to the World Health Organization and what they want to implement and propose to implement. It is concerning when I listen to the United Nations, knowing that our country has representatives there who are not pushing back on our behalf. and signing on to everything that when I look at the Samoa agreement that threatens us in terms of gender matters. But we're told we don't have to accept everything there. We can pick and choose. Really, go and read the Samoa agreement for yourself. And we as a little monkey country, let me tell you, I have been places where Barbados is not on their map. I have stood in boardrooms where I have had to walk over to the boardroom and take out my pen out of my pocket and put a little dot at 13.1, 59.1 for Barbados and tell them this is where Barbados is. They don't even have us on the map. They can get us on the map when they want to carry out their experiments, and when they want to try out different things, they can find us on the map. They can find us on the map when they want to stifle our freedoms of expression. They can find us on the map. When they want to try out their laws and their pronouncements, they can find us on the map. Because we have representatives internationally that have brought our country right in front of everybody's face. And we are benefiting from it. I can't see it. I don't know if you can see it. If you can see it, please tell me. Please tell me. Our income earner, again, I can repeat this because somebody said to me the other night that they like it if it was Maxine. When your income, when your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. We are borrowing money left, right, and center. And I have to, as I said last night, and Maxine said last night, we have to go and do some research on this climate financial matter that is supposed to eliminate some of the debts that we have. I have to go and see exactly what it says. And I want to encourage you to do your homework and to educate yourself. Don't sit around waiting for a government to tell you. Government will tell you what they want to tell you. We've just watched all of that in the United States elections. We've watched it all over elections in the Caribbean and elections in South America, where people tell you what they want you to hear. And that's not always the truth. They lie. Look at how the mainstream media in the United States of America is being caught out as one of the biggest liars on the planet. And all of their popularity is plummeting left, right, and center to the point where they're laying off people. Because the people are waking up and finding out what you were saying is a lie. We have the example there. So let us not in Barbados follow that. Let us look for ourselves and let us hold the government's feet to the fire to tell us the truth. What does this agreement mean for us? When you sign this one in Samoa, what is the intent? What do you mean? What does it mean to the people of Barbados? What are you intending to implement in Barbados coming out of that Samoa agreement? And you shouldn't be doing that after you sign it. You should have come to the people of Barbados, and there are 30 members and 29 members of government in constituencies. All right, 29 members of government in constituencies. And with those 29 members, whenever there is a pending agreement, you should be meeting with the members of your constituency. You should be calling out the people in the constituency, DLP or BLP or APP, whoever you are. We're inviting you to express your opinions and your views on XY agreement. And you should be in a position to explain it to the people of Barbados, not with no highfalutin sounding language, but in language that the average individual can understand. And listen to the feedback. You take that feedback back to Parliament and you represent the people. But what happens in this country is that the government ministers and the parliamentary representatives make the decision, don't consult with the people, walk back into Parliament and agree with what is proposed. Well, I tell you, if I ever get my way, that guy, stop. I'm telling you that now. That has to stop. That's one of the reasons I have promoted for independent candidates. So that we get away from this party business, and we get people who are interested in our country and not interested more in their party. and in the advancement of their political philosophy, but they are interested in the advancement of the Barbadian philosophy. You know what that is? I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Well, I see one of my guests is in the studio waiting for me to welcome her in. And I'll tell you, I always enjoy sharing my evening sessions with this lady. She is profound, she is potent, and she's always on point. And I can tell you, a lot of people are not going to like her. You know why? Because she tells the truth. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the Marcy Week show tonight, Madam Rose Corbin. Good evening, Rose. So nice to have you join me tonight. There was somebody else who was supposed to come in before you, but I haven't seen them. Unfortunately, I never have a lack of information to share. And you know, I'm a Pentecostal minister, so you know we can talk long.
I heard you.
Welcome.
Not long. It wasn't that. It was a long discourse with nothing substantial. It's always substantial.
Thank you, ma'am.
Always
Thank you so much.
On point. It is always necessary. So you've not been wasting our time, sir. Good
Thank you, ma'am.
evening.
Good evening.
And I
to you.
want to thank you for your work last week. How you led the delegation, your own participation and contribution. So I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And it prompts me to go this way for tonight's session. And I want, before I do jump into the session, because I really want to share as much, I want to say good evening, as I normally do, to our loyal sons and daughters all. We loyal sons and daughters all, firm craftsmen of our faith. And I hope that my discussion with you would prompt you to act more assiduously, energetically, beyond the screens of the show, beyond the show, to be indeed firm craftsmen of our faith. Let history's pages record that you wrote and you crafted the direction and the redirection of our nation as we approach independence. So my contribution tonight, Reverend Ferdy, based on what happened so powerfully in Washington from the group, the loyal opposition, I felt the need to speak on the participation, the persuasion, and the power of civil society. So folks, this is what we'll be looking at tonight: the participation, the persuasion, and the power of civil society. And I am using this format too, because everywhere I go, in church, wherever I go, someone comes up and they say how they listen to the Marcy Week show and they learn so much, that the presenters all bring new information, something they've never heard before, something they didn't understand before, or prompted them to dust off the information and look at it again and deconstruct it and reconstruct it and look at how meaningful it can be for them. So I want to, Reverend Ferdy, did you get the slides?
Unfortunately, Rose, I didn't. And even if I did, I would have had to have converted them from PowerPoint because I don't have that on my
All right.
computer.
I have the printout. So
Okay.
I don't know.
If
I
I
think
receive it at any point, because I think you would have sent it to Dave, I'll check my
I'm
emails
wondering
and
if
so on
I
when you're
could.
speaking.
All right.
Right? And while you're speaking, you go ahead and I will just check my email, see if I have got it. And if I have,
Yeah.
I will try to do a conversion.
Yes, please. So we're looking at civil society in terms of our participation, the persuasion of civil society, and the power of civil society. So recently, I am not, I know many of you back there are better informed, better equipped to speak on the topic. So it is in no way trying to be condescending or belittle, but it is just ensuring that we are all on the same page and that we all understand what we're talking about. So the origins of civil society, and I'm reading from my handout, and it arises from, don't let anybody think you, cause you to think or make you believe that, you know, in these recent times, it seems that everything is created, knowledge is created from those within this government, you know, that everything is new. They're bringing new things to us. But civil society existed way back in the Roman Empire, and the concept was used. It was societas civilis, and it was introduced by a philosopher, a lawyer, a Roman philosopher, lawyer, writer, orator, statesman, scholar, who was famous for his speeches on politics and society. And if Nigel is out there and all of you who have studied philosophy, you would be familiar with the name Marcus Tullius Cicero. And he was born in 106 BC. And he coined the term civil society. And Socrates supported the idea. Nigel, were you? Socrates, another philosopher, supported the idea that conflicts within society should be resolved through public debates. And Plato saw the ideal state as a society in which people dedicate themselves to the common good, while Aristotle saw the polis, P-O-L-I-S, broadly meaning a state of society, especially when characterized by a sense of community as an association that enabled citizens to share in the virtuous task of ruling. Now in these times, the way that citizens, from my perspective, are allowed to participate and, as they say, share in the virtuous task of ruling is through the vote. We give them their vote, and we have left them to do all the ruling, to do all the controlling, to do all the dictating, to do all the prescribing. However, way back in the early days, and before Christ, that era before Christ, you had these philosophers who felt that civil society should be involved in a sense of community and resolving matters of common interest and concern through public debates. I set that background because, again, this is what the Marseille show is about. And not only us, but other groups are out there, probably not as visible as we are, but there are other groups, community groups from civil society who are seek to engage in public debate and in things of common interest. And I couldn't help but look at some quotes of the philosopher Cicero, who coined the term civil society. And listen to this one. If you had seen the PowerPoints, I have the face of someone who's thinking like, really? And he said, and you could tell me to whom this could be speaking of. A man can make mistakes, but only an idiot persists in his error. A man can make mistakes, but only an idiot persists in his error. The higher, another quotation, the higher we are placed, the more humbly we should walk. The higher we are placed, the more humbly we should walk. A message for those who have been given the power by individuals who form civil society, and they're not walking humbly, they're walking all over us. They are insulting even out of Barbados, at Washington, where Timon spoke. These are not humble persons. And this statement says, the higher we are placed, the more humbly we should walk. Now let's look at civil society and where it is located. And I would have had a diagram done for you. Let's talk about civil society. Civil society can be understood as the third sector of society. So sometimes you would hear them pompousing about the third sector of society as though it's a mythical thing. To demystify it, the third sector, we have two sectors that precede this one. You have government, the first sector, and business, the second sector. Business, which would have manufacturing industries, the labor force. Here it is. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So we're looking here at where civil society is located. And we have the three subsets interwoven. And we constitute, so let us see the Marseille show, all of us who are here, as part of that third sector. And therefore, civil society is the third sector of society, distinct from government and business, and including the family and the private sphere. Now, that is not, does not mean the private sector. The private sphere speaks to speaks to it's the opposite of the public sphere, and it is a certain sector of societal life in which an individual enjoys a degree of authority unhampered by interventions from governmental, economic, and other institutions. An example then of the private sphere are family and the home. The next slide, we are looking now at more on civil society, its composition. Other definitions of society would tell us that civil society, that third sector, is the space between the state and society, and includes groups and organizations that are not part of the government or private sector. Civil society is made up of various groups such as NGOs, advocacy groups, faith-based organizations, community groups, trade unions. Take a pen there. Our trade unions constitute, or they are part of civil society. But can you see them in that sector? In recent times, our trade unions are very much in bed with the first sector, which is the public sector or government. They are hardly found, with the exception, dare I say, of unity under our dear Caswell Franklin. Our trade unions in recent times have been sleeping with the first sector and have become submerged under that public sector, that first sector. So we're looking at that, the trade unions, employers association, policy and research think tanks, social movements, women's group, men's group, business development organizations. I want you to look at what's happening in Barbados and ask yourself, is the civil society contracting? Are we giving way to pressure? Because those who should be representing the interests of the people, such as trade unions, there are not, many of them are highly partisan, politically aligned. I am not saying that someone who is within a civil society organization should not or could not be politically active or have their own political side or association. That would be going against democracy. But I am saying that recently, not only in Barbados, but in other countries, civil society is being, the traditional groups in civil society seem to have been bought out by government. And we are talking about Barbados. So civil society organizations work to promote public awareness, represent special interests, and serve the general interests. And they can do so through supporting victims of violence, helping children in need, training farmers, holding governments accountable, and promoting public dialogue. what I have seen here is that civil society within our context and government seems to want that sector to be more caring, yes, be more charitable, be more benevolent, but not to agitate or to be politically responsible and asking government to be accountable. So it's all right if you are stepping and help a fire victim. That is the kind of participation that is sought from the first sector. Benevolence, charitable responses, helping your neighbor, helping your community through your organization. But don't get to the point where you are asking government to be accountable and to engage in public dialogue with civil society. I hope that we are seeing what's happening. CSOs or civil society organizations are accountable neither to the state, the first sector, nor to the market, the second sector, the private sector, the manufacturing, the industry. As CSOs, you are not accountable to these. You are autonomous. But many are linked to both. And again, that is understandable, but many are linked to both for funding, legal status, and context. And we have seen it here where civil society groups like the trade unions and other groups. I remember the Israel Levitt Foundation, the the one that David Commission heads up. They were very active CSOs. But you don't hear from them anymore. Pineland Creatives is a CSO, but do you hear them agitating? Do you hear them? Many of them, we can't find them because they are getting big funding interventions from government of sorts. And I wouldn't even go there. For maybe another time, I would draw on that. So let us look now at the role of civil society, the rules of civil society. And I came across an excellent source. I was doing a lot of reading and research. An excellent source called fastercapital.com. And you should read it, a really good discourse and discussion on civil society. And one of the roles of civil society is that of ensuring accountability. And Pastor Ferdy was speaking, I was listening to him, and this is his mantra, this is his call to government, that whole thing of accountability and transparency. And I want, as we go, if you could tick off, if this civil society group with which you are associated, like your participation in the audience and in the chat, would we qualify as a civil society group, a civil society organization doing what the others are not doing? So the role of civil society from this source and other sources that I would have read, that of monitoring and evaluation, monitoring government and evaluating what government is doing, promoting transparency and participation. Participation in the sense now of participating with government in terms of all the other things I can't explain, but in terms of policy reforms, advocating for policy reforms. Before the Martirique show brought the cybercrime bill to the fore and church leaders did, there was a group to which I belong, I'm a member, Family, Faith, Freedom, Barbados. We were studying that cybercrime bill. And we were advocating through statements, articles sent to the press. We were advocating for policy reforms as a civil society organization. And this is what we're doing here on the Martirique show. That is the role of civil society. Now, if you're telling me that the country is a democratic, we live in a democratic society, and that there is participation amongst the sectors, why is it that whenever entities like the Martirique show, and I'm speaking about the Martirique show, whenever those in the public sector, the first sector, why is it that they speak in denigrating, belittling, put down tones? Don't they want this kind of participation from this group that comprise civil society? Several persons drawn from civil society. Don't they want that participation? And so we are looking at one of the roles is that of ensuring accountability. So we're asking for accountability from many areas of government, and it will follow through in the other slide. The role of civil society in ensuring good governance. And the next slide reads, advocacy and awareness. Go, yes? The role of civil society in ensuring good governance, advocacy and awareness, again, monitoring and evaluation. We have, in this show, we are doing all. We're being benevolent. We're being charitable. We get laptops for students. We get uniforms. We are fundraising. Yes, we see that benevolent, charitable, helping your neighbor as important. But of significance and greater importance and greatest importance is the monitoring and evaluation, is ensuring good governance, participation and partnership. That text that I recommended you read speak to how government should engage. Now, this thing about Paris Speak at town hall meetings, you remember how I religiously drove across Barbados to go to education reform meetings and sought to participate and had to fight for space. They want you to do a presentation on something as important as education reform in 5 minutes, and they keep telling you wrap up. And they are asking for partnership. Partnership when the doo-doo hits the proverbial fan. Partnership when it suits them. Partnership when we speak their narrative and we speak their rhetoric, but not partnership and participation when we are saying, no, 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 this is draconian. The cybercrime bill, the child protection bill, when we say go back to the drawing board, when we say go back to the drawing board with education reform, then you are told that you are against the government and that you are enemies of the government. Let's look at the same thing in ensuring good governance, addressing issues. Haven't we been addressing issues? Aren't we to address issues that pertain to good governance? I am just raising awareness. I have worked with civil society. I represented the civil society NGO here in Barbados at a conference in New Zealand. Was part of the CSO Civil Society delegation at the precursor to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in New Zealand. And many of the issues we worked hard into the night. We didn't travel first class. And I hope you all heard the Prime Minister said that with carbon emission, those who are traveling on traveling a lot, that those in business and first class should be paying a tax. And I hope that the government, if this ever comes to it, because she's pushing this internationally, globally, that the government of Barbados and the people of Barbados and the taxpayers' money will not be used for that tax that she said should come out. And she said those of us who travel by economy should be left to our discretion. I park that there. So I hope that I'm wondering who paid for the trip to see the port, but that's another story, another time. Because I don't know if she was driving past the Vatican and say, hey, let me stop and say hello to the port. I check out how the port doing and say, hi, my friend, my boy. I no disrespect to the port, but we do know that our Prime Minister tends to call everybody my girl and my boy when she hailing them. So when we look here now at the role of civil society in promoting budget accountability. So we right now have 29-1 in the House of Assembly, and civil society has to take on responsibility of promoting the budget accountability. We have got to, I can't remember the Joint Select Committee, the one that the leader of the opposition is chairing. We have to, as civil society, we should be lobbying our MPs. But no, we can't even get near the House of Parliament. You have to stand outside in Palmetto Square, and they're all driving with the highly tinted cars. You don't know who they are. You can't get to them, and they don't even look back.
But wait a minute, Rose. Wait a minute.
Yes, please.
Wait a minute. You said they drive in through Palmetto Square, all right? come into Parliament. Is that what you just said?
Yes, please.
And we can't see them. You can't get close to them. Nothing. That's what you just said, right?
Yes, please.
But if you listen to the attorney who represented the government at the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, he said in this small island, everywhere the politicians go, they connect with the people and the people connect with them. That is what he said. I remember there was a time when parliamentarians used to come into Parliament and the people would run up to them and hug them up and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And that is what he was referring to that used to happen 8 and 9 and 10 and years ago. But now you can't even walk through the Parliament gate when Parliament is in session. The police officers will stop you at the gate and ask you what's your business.
So
And
it's
the Parliament is supposed to be the people's Parliament, not the government Parliament. It's supposed to be the people's Parliament. But we can't get in. You can hardly even get in there now to occupy the what you call it again? Nowhere to sit down and observe and listen to the debates. The gallery. You can hardly get into the gallery. But this attorney is going to say how the politicians are accessible. But my goodness, I know he ain't had nothing to do with Barbados. Anyhow, forgive my interruption. Let me let you get through because I see Reverend John Carter is joining me.
Yes,
in a moment, and I would love to get his take on some of this stuff. Yeah, I know what you got left. Trust me, I'm watching you good and nice.
I just have I'm coming to the end.
Yes, I see. Go ahead.
There's more too. And let me give an aside. I did my research again on the consultations that they said they had with civil society on that cybercrime bill, Pastor. And if they are referring to consultations, when they brought in the persons from European Union, they had a meeting with the legal fraternity
at Lawyers in Sandiford.
Those persons who would have to impose the police force, etc. They did not have any consultation. It is our marches from civil society, from the eavesdropping on the Martha Week show, and our marches and the vocal responses from civil society and elsewhere, like Family, Faith, Freedom, Barbados, the church, Apostle Lenroy, Canterbury, and all those various persons, individuals, and other groupings in civil society who brought the consultations to the people. The only opportunities we had is when they pulled back, and we then were given the begrudgingly hearing where you and Kimar and all the others had to put up with the snide comments from the chair of the committee. So if they are saying they had consultations, they had them with the Bar Association, the Legal Association, they had it with those law enforcement entities who would oversee and ensure that the people are kept in track. So just let me finish off here.
Yes.
The role of civil society, among several, in promoting budget accountability. And yes, thank you. Someone reminded me, the Public Accounts Committee and the Auditor General's report. And here, promoting budget accountability, combating corruption and odious debt, advocating for debt audits, participating in debt restructuring, advocating for debt sustainability. They don't engage civil society. This is a new dispensation. If you looked at when they back there under Cicero and Plato and the philosophers, when they introduced civil society, it did a shift under the Enlightenment era. And civil society, good governance, is not by parliamentary representation or lack thereof. When people vote for you, it is not that. Good governance in this enlightened age should be engaging the public, not only after you have delivered it, you then have a breakfast meeting the next day with the private sector primarily, and not the ones who will be squeezing and will be squeezed under your budgetary proposals or measures. And so civil society has a role to play in promoting budget accountability, advocating for debt audits, participating in debt restructuring. When them go along with their big pensions, we are the ones who will be sucking salt because of how they did the debt restructuring, debt advocating for debt sustainability, monitoring debt negotiations, advocating for debt justice. The Prime Minister cannot be seen as the only one who's speaking on the impact of climate change and this whole thing of debt justice for vulnerable states and island states. That justice should be something that civil society engaging in, not just the Bridgetown Initiative. No one beyond that side input on the Bridgetown Initiative, and it is the brainchild of the Prime Minister and her side and civil society, which has experts on climate change. I can't remember if we were engaged. I am waiting to be corrected. So,
but you see,
yes,
Rose, that's
please.
why I said earlier tonight, and I'm going to bring in John very shortly, just giving him a prep up warning. That's why I said earlier, Rose, and I don't know if you caught me. I said earlier, they don't even return to the constituency to report on what they have done, far less go to the constituency to find out what the constituency feels about something before they engage it. What they do is they sign on to all these agreements, all of these debt restructuring, all of this is International Monetary Fund stuff. All of this is World Economic Forum stuff. They sign on to all these things, and then they expect the Barbadian people to shoulder the responsibility of the massive debt that we are carrying in this country.
Yes.
And that is what I am saying has got to change. I'm going to bring in John. John, I hope you are ready to come in. I'm just going to bring him in now. John, just want to make sure that you're hearing me. You're hearing me okay, John?
I am, sir.
Okay, good. And we are hearing you loud and clear. John, I know you've been listening to what Rose has been sharing. I still have some of the things up here on the screen because one of the aspects, because she has been speaking about the role of civil society in ensuring good governance. And I've always felt that the church is an integral part of civil society. And as a result of that, I have felt that there is a need for the church to voice or let its voice be heard in the context of its responsibility as a part of the civil society. Because here you have Rose saying that the civil society should be monitoring and evaluating promoting transparency and participation, advocating for policy reforms, dealing with matters of advocacy and awareness, monitoring and evaluating, participating, and partnership. And then she went on to this area here, combating corruption and odious debt. I hope you're seeing, are you seeing these clearly? Are you, you're
Yes.
able to, good. Well, we're getting a lot of feedback somewhere from your end, a lot of loud feedback from your end, just letting you know. Advocating
Well,
for debt
the only thing that
sustainability.
might be happening behind me is that I have the air conditioning unit on.
No, it
That's
sounds like your mic is very, very loud. I don't know if you can do
hold a
anything
minute.
to adjust.
Let me lower this thing here.
It could be that. Could be that. That's sounding a little better. But so these things, I mean, I can pull them back up as you know, as you need to be reminded of it. But John, what is your take on the church's role? Because you know, very often, let me see here. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback and some noise coming from your end. Very, very loud. A kind of a
Like I
screaming
said,
noise.
I am in a room alone. I brought my computer into my bedroom so I wouldn't be out where my wife is, the TV
Right.
and the radio and things
When
happening.
you're speaking, it's okay, but when you're not speaking, so if I mute you, you can unmute when you're ready to speak. Okay, you can do that. But so these areas here, what is your take on it? Because I know that you have been involved in the political arena before, and you know, you're one of those ministers, I would have to say, rare ministers who gets his feet wet in this particular area. But engaging some of what Rose has been indicating, I'll just back a couple of slides
Well,
so that
I
you
have
can see what she,
a fairly broad view of the church and its involvement. I was sitting in another place and I made a presentation in that other place. And someone said to me, because I referenced a number of individuals who were doing things, number of believers, Christian men and women, who were doing things, promoting events and activities and things of that nature. And the person said, but we thought you were going to talk about the church. Well, Furley, you know, if you go in the community as a man of God and create a program or a project that helps the community, my position is that the church is functioning. You know, the church doesn't have to function because an organization is engaged. The church is functioning when the people of God, individually, in groups, collectively, corporately, or whatever, when the people of God are doing things, are getting engaged. Right? So when I get, let's take this guy. Oh shoot, I can't remember what do I remember his name, from St. Leonard's School, former school teacher, St. Leonard's School, who has this program yearly, which targets primarily youth at the third, fourth, and fifth form level, maybe sixth form. He has this program where he is challenging youth over a period of time to grow and develop and demonstrate certain skills and characteristics and things that kind. Well, when he does that, from my perspective, the church is engaged. You see, it's not that his denomination is doing it, but as a believer, as a man of God, as a Christian, he is doing what the Spirit of the Lord has put in its heart. So the church is engaged. So I know that when generally people narrow the church to the organization. I don't do that. I don't do that. My position is that if a believer, like there's another guy who has a sports program. I don't understand why these guys, these names are not, they're not coming to me.
Not
I mean,
coming,
these are people I know well.
not coming
But
to
I
you.
guess
I'm not going to.
before you know
No,
when you get to your age,
I am not going to go there. My age, Rose
when
can
you
tell
get
you
to your
that I'm only
age,
20. Rose will tell I'm only
when
27
you get to
years
your
old.
age, you know some things don't readily come back to you. You know what I'm saying?
Rose would tell you I'm only 27 years old. What are you talking about? But you know what you're saying, though, John. What you're saying then, because I gather that when people talk about not hearing the church, that what they're looking for is to hear from the leaders, from the bishops, from the apostles, from the pope, you know, if you understand, from the head of the churches. But what you're saying is that the church is more than the denomination and more than the leadership. What you're saying is the church is the people. That's what you're saying.
absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Oh, you see, as you spoke, one names came at me. Vincent Cumberbatch.
Yes,
He's the guy that has this program for young men, school leavers, just the fourth and fifth farmers, and he's been doing it now for quite a number of years. All right. So, but that's the point I want to make. The church is not the apostles and bishops and pastors and prophets and so on. The church is the people. Unfortunately, because we don't see the church as the people, we see the church as denomination, we see the church as one with the titles. The church is functioning, but because it is not under a denominational label, people do not recognize it as the church functioning. Here you have
so what you're saying then is that some of the same said people here that are commenting, who are believers, that they're being the church is involved then in the comments that we are making here and the contributions that we are making here on the show.
Absolutely, sir. I was about to say that Rose, as an individual, she's not representing, as far as you know, she's not representing any organization or any church.
Mm-hmm.
But as a member of the body of Christ, the church is functioning because she is engaged at this particular instance and at this level. So that's my position with the church.
So people have to broaden their understanding then, John, as to what the church is. What you're saying is that people down through the years have had a limited understanding or limited view of what the church has been, or what the church is supposed to be, or what the church is.
Absolutely. Look, I have moved to St. Lucie, Ferdy. I've moved to St. Lucie. I've been down here now about 6 months. You have heard about the water rules in St. Lucie, the discoloration and so on. So I have been an advocate for a change to occur in the quality of the water that we're receiving. Nobody was talking about it. I went on brass tacks. I called the Prime Minister's office. I spoke to the political representative down here. I've gone to other meetings to talk about that. I'm doing that. I'm doing it as a believer, as a Christian, as a man of God, and a citizen in this country. I'm not representing, when I talk about the water situation down here, I'm not representing any church, any denomination. I'm not doing that. I'm not even doing that as the leader, the coordinator of Operation in Session. I'm doing that as a member of the body of Christ and a citizen of this country and a person who lives in St. Lucie. So the church, as a representative of the church is engaged when I'm engaged.
But let me ask you this, John, because you know the thing about it is that we've grown up in a society where when leaders do not speak, there's a sense in which the organization hasn't spoken, if you understand what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
We are seeing it right now in terms of the government. We are seeing it even in terms of the opposition. Down through the years, we've seen if the prime minister speaks, we've seen many of the press conferences recently. The prime minister is speaking. She is surrounded by different members of parliament or ministers, but they're saying nothing. And so the people say the Barbados Labour Party says this or whatever. Do you think it is necessary, or would you think it is necessary for the leadership of churches, the bishops, to express, here we have, for example, the cybercrime bill. Just let me mute you for a minute. Here we have, for example, the cybercrime bill. Here we have the issues dealing with the Public Accounts Committee, which, of course, because of the massive majority the government has in Parliament, it cannot function the way the person who's responsible for the Public Accounts Committee wants it to function. Would you say that it is incumbent on leadership to at least be seen speaking concerning the issues in the country? Because, for example, I saw the bishop, I think, of the Anglican Church address the matter of gang violence in the country, but I heard nobody else. I heard no other leaders say anything.
Well, look, Apostle David Durant put out an article which recently in the paper. I mean, a significant contribution to the debate concerning youth and violence and crime and so on. I'm not sure if there's any reference to what church he is associated with. Of course, people know he's with Restoration Ministries. But I'm saying he wrote that as a man of God, as a member of the body of Christ, as a citizen of Barbados. He didn't write that representing the council of churches or any of that. He wrote it as a man of God and as a citizen of this country. So he spoke on behalf of the church. That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making. When Family Faith Freedom Barbados does things, it's the church. It doesn't get the recognition like the Anglican or the Methodist or I don't know, whoever would get. But it's the church speaking. Those people, including yourself, who went to Washington, that was the church. As far as you know, all the people who were part of that who worked as part of your delegation were men and women of God.
As a matter of fact, we could not even reach Julio on Sunday because he takes his faith in Christ very seriously. He does not engage any business on Sundays.
Okay.
And couldn't reach him. He was at church. And
so what I'm saying is that it is the church who represented Barbados at that commission and on behalf of the people. But we don't see it as a church, We see it like that as the March of the Weeks protest group or some other thing. That was the church. It's members of the body of Christ who went up there to present a case on behalf of the people of Barbados.
So what you're saying?
So when people say, that the church is not involved and the church is quiet, the church they do not understand what the church is. Who makes it the church?
That's what I was about to just ask you. So what we need then is a revolutionary, a revival or review of what the church really is.
Of course, sir. Of course, sir. The church is individual. It's like the human body. The human body is made up of many parts, and the Bible says that the ones that are considered insignificant gets greater honor. So when individuals quote and speak to issues related to the development at every level, whether spiritual, psychological, financial, relational, whatever. When individuals go out in the public arena and speak to issues, the church, Ambassador Ferdinand, the church is speaking. You understand me? The church is speaking. It's not denomination speaking, not bishop speaking. It's a member of the body of Christ speaking on behalf of the body of Christ. They don't even think it that. Many of them don't think of it in that way, but that's really what it is. They're speaking from a different worldview. They're speaking from a kingdom worldview. So the church is engaged. I had a man tell me when we were after election in 2018, a man asked me, "Why are you doing the politics? Why you don't go and preach the gospel?" I said to him, there are a lot of people who say they don't get involved in politics. So my question, do you vote? If you vote, you are involved in politics. I go further. If you pay taxes, you are involved because you're helping to finance the program of the party that is ruling at that time. So, and listen, and when you don't vote, you're still involved because you say, I ain't care who get elected, I still gonna live here and pay my road tax or pay my NAS or my PAYE. Still involved.
You know, I'm posting a couple of things here that folk are saying in the chat. Here's one thing. Maybe you could respond to it. This one, agree, John. However, the individual members must all speak up in their sphere of influence. In other words, you have Christian people, folk who are the churches you have described, who are members of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce, who may even be leading the Chamber of Commerce, and people who are involved in the private sector. I mean, a lot of people involved in the private sector go to church, they go to Anglican churches, Catholic churches, Pentecostal churches, you name it, lawyers and doctors. A lot of them attend churches and so on. But we don't hear them speaking in their sphere of influence that Rose is talking about in terms of addressing the matters of combating corruption and odious debt, advocating for debt audits, participating in debt restructuring. You don't hear them expressing things. Why do you think that is? Is it that they're afraid to rock the boat, or why won't they speak? I mean, you have some of them in Parliament too. If you understand what I'm saying, there's some members of Parliament who are churchgoers, who are people, some who are, as far as we know, are Christians, but yet they see these things happening, but say nothing.
Well, I don't want to do one of the Parliament. Let me do one of the Parliament. Many of them are trying to pretend that they're not involved in politics. I say it's a pretense. It is a pretense. They are the intellectuals and trained professionals that God has placed in those positions for such a time as this. But remember what Mordecai told. Remember what Mordecai told Esther. If you keep quiet, God is going to raise somebody else, but you're not going to be spared. If you keep quiet, God is going to raise up someone else, but you are not going to be spared. So a lot of these men and women are hiding behind, I don't get involved in politics. Phrasing, which is not true. They're lying. In private chambers, in private groups, they're talking about these matters. But for whatever reason, they will not come out publicly and state their position on these issues. And that's really sad and unfortunate.
Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Really sad and unfortunate.
Do you think
we have professionals at every level? They're
at every
bankers,
level.
They're lawyers, they're journalists, and they're
They're
quiet.
judges, they're magistrates.
Yes, sir.
At every level. Rose,
At every level. At every level. At one time, we had somebody who was the head of the central bank.
yes.
Head of the central
Rose,
bank.
let me ask you this, Rose. You know, last night, I don't know, John, if you were able to listen to the program last night. I don't know if you did, Rose, but you know, one of the things that came up in the program last night was the matter of fear. You know, we were talking about fear, the people being afraid to speak, being afraid, and the fact that it is not really a character trait of really of Barbadians, but it has been more or less inculcated into us. You know, because Africans, by virtue of who they are not people who are fearful. I mean, if we know about the tribal aspects of Africa and so forth, for everything I've seen and all the Africans I've engaged with, even on our virtual training sessions, these people are not afraid to I mean, Rose, you had up I had up a slide just before you completed a civil society group in Cape Town, South Africa, protesting
Yes, I would
against the
like you to
protection.
put that up. You could
You
feel
want me to
the
put that up?
energies of that group,
Let me
if you could.
get it up here that we can see it, John. Let me just see. Here we are.
Can't
Just
you
let me
feel
take
the
away this
energies?
thing. Yeah, you see the yeah, you know, dubbed the secrecy bill. Local and international critics saw the bill as a pretext for covering up the state of corruption. There was somewhere else recently, John, I don't know if you recall, there was another African country where I think it was Kenya, I stand to be corrected, where they were trying to introduce monetary policies that would have taxed bread and toilet paper, that type of thing. And the young people, generation Gen Z, I think is what they refer to them as, took to the streets, and they had to pull back. They had to pull back the legislation that would have done that. So African people are not docile and quiet people that roll over and play dead, you know. But it seems that here in Barbados, it would appear as though we are afraid to engage and to confront. And you know, I don't know if you all saw this. Let me add this video here. I don't know if you all saw this
Today
video
as comrades all.
with this young man speaking.
When we see the kinds of attacks that are being mounted against our comrades, because that is what they are, Minister Wilfred Abrams is the Honorable Wilfred Abrams and the member for Christchurch East, but
It's almost as if what he is saying is that because of their position, because of their title, how dare you oppose them? You know, so I'm just wondering, you know, Rose, John, is that element of fear present in silencing some of these people who are in leadership positions around the country who are churchgoers, and in silencing church leaders themselves?
Well, I think part of the problem is, and in support of these church leaders, huh? Part of the problem is they don't want to be seen to be engaged in what is it called
in partisan politics.
Partisan politics, right? So for that reason, they remain silent. I could in a sense understand that, the leadership, all right, but there is also that, look, I'm a prominent businessman in this country. A prominent businessman in this country was asked to meet with someone who was seeking to enter parliament, to be elected. And the man said, no, he can't do that. He can't. No, there's no young entrepreneur. I mean, this is a serious business person in Barbados. The man said he can't do that because he said because M might find out. You heard me, Ambassador?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
He said, I can't do that. I can't be you because M might find out. I mean,
So that is intimidation.
of course, sir. Of
But
course.
we are not supposed to be people who are subject to intimidation.
We should not be. We should not be. But that is the problem here in Barbados. A lot of people are afraid to be known to be speaking.
And unfortunately, it would appear, Rose, that when you oppose the government, the conclusion is that you're a supporter of opposition. You are not a member of civil society. And you see, that's the challenge, because, you know, I will tell you both this. You know, when we completed the address to the commission, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, when we completed the address, you know, the member of parliament for St. James North, he is. I think he's St. James North or St. James South. I can't remember which one he is now. He's one of them constituents, St. James. He suggested to the young people that they were members of the opposition, the Democratic Labour Party. So it would, I would assume, on the basis of his assessment, that it is seen in Barbados that the moment you oppose government, you are automatically a member of the opposition. You are not a citizen of Barbados who is expressing your concern. And you know, that, because I can tell you, there are many of them that feel that Marcia Weeks is a DLP person. And you know here, Rose and John, you all know that we are apolitical. We do not support, we support one thing, and that is our country. Marcy is not a member of the BLP. She's not a member of the DLP. We have made this platform open to people from both sides, if they wish to come on and speak. We have had James Paul on here, who was a former minister of government. We've had Ralph Thorne on, who's the leader of the opposition. We have had Shakwani on. She is free to come on. I think she's the third or fourth vice president of the thing. We have had Felicia Dujon on talking about the matters of education. I think she's third vice president or something like that of the political party. And so people feel that the Marcia Week show is a Democratic Labour Party show. It is not. And I want to make it real clear, because I am not a member of the DLP. I am not a member of the BLP. I am not a member of the APP. I am not a member of any political party. I ran for the APP in 2022, but I am not a member of the APP. I used to be a member of the BLP. I am no longer a member of the BLP, and I have not joined the DLP. And I am on this show. I am here because I have a deep concern of the future of Barbados when it comes to my grandchildren. That's why I'm here. You got on mute. You got on mute, John.
So, yeah. So that's really church. So these guys have, look. I have watched. I have watched the appointment of some prominent church men by the government. I've watched the appointment of some of these prominent churchmen by the government. And what's the result of that? Result of it is that they will be silenced. Now, where before they will be vocal on certain matters, they'll be silenced. And there's a parallel. There's a parallel. Years ago, Owenatha had appointed a lot of different people from both divides to boards in Barbados. A lot of the economists from KFL, he had appointed and put on different boards, national boards in Barbados. And he's doing these things, and the economists are saying that nobody's questioning any of his policies. So somebody asked, I don't remember the woman's name, but this one was a lecture in economics at university. Somebody asked this woman, why is it that the economists and other lecturers, professors at KFL, are not questioning the government's policies? And the woman said, he has put us on the boards. He has put us on the boards. So if you're on the board of a government organization, How are you going to criticize the government policies as well as that organization? You can't. You wouldn't. So I've noticed that two prominent men of God in this country have been appointed to three of them really, to significant positions by the government. But you're not going to hear from them anymore. You're not going to hear from them anymore. The two advisors, the two spiritual advisors to the government, you're not going to hear from them. And the one that is now head of, who is now the ombudsman, you're not going to hear from him. Listen, I got a question. A former school colleague of mine, he's probably a bit ahead of me. I heard on the radio last week that he's in charge of the service, the independent service. The man of God that I respect. So when you have the service where Rastafari man, Muslim and Hindu and Buddhist coming together to worship, which God are you talking about, sir?
Well, you know, some years ago, John, I was asked under the Arthur administration by Noel Lynch at the time. I was asked to spearhead an ecumenical service, or no, an independent service. I think it was an independent celebration service. And I began to pull together because through the Barbados Evangelical Association, we've always held, the BEA has always held an independent service. And so I began to pull together members of the ecumenical grouping. And if anybody knows the meaning of ecumenical, it refers specifically to the Christian denominational groupings. And with all respect to the other religions and other faiths, there was Bertrand somebody, I can't remember his last name now, but he was also involved at the time. And I indicated that when they came to me and, you know, I'd drawn up what I felt, and they came to me and they said, well, we don't see the other members of the faith-based community involved. I said, but the independent service has always been an ecumenical service. And we've always extended the invitations to the members of the other faiths to be a part of that ecumenical service. And they began to say, well, you know, we want people to participate. And I said, well, I'm very sorry, but based on my faith, I cannot do that. And so I surrendered and I gave up the responsibility, and they had somebody else, appointed somebody else to do it. And I did not attend. I told them, I said, if you want to have a multi-faith event, you know, you can have a multi-faith event, you know, to do the buses celebrations or whatnot. But when it comes to the Independence Day service, I believe that should be an ecumenical one. People didn't agree, and you know, I just pulled myself out of it. But I don't know that Arthur and I still continue to meet when Arthur was in the diagnostic hospital there in Beckles Road, having had a puncture from a rose in his garden. I think he was diabetic. My wife and I went to see him. We went to pray with him for 10 minutes, and 45 minutes, an hour later, I walked out of his room. So we were on good relationships in spite of the fact that I took very strong positions on what I believed. He had a meeting at the Lawyers Conservative Center for Ministers to assist with the matter of communicating with CARICOM, and I sat quietly. He observed that I had said nothing, asked me about speaking, and I got up and I said to him, you know, that I still said, Mr. Prime Minister, you don't want to make the mistake that somebody who was at the time running presidentially in the United States, I said, you don't want to make the mistake he made. And he said, no. I said, well, then you need to listen to what the church is saying. You know, but my thing on it is that Tom Adams, I think it was Tom Adams that I used to hear saying, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. I think it was him that I heard make that statement one day. I've never forgotten it. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. And when I heard Arthur begin to implement the policy of the politics of inclusion, I began to understand really and experience what Adams was saying, because that is something that he practiced. And as you know, that spread throughout the Caribbean, with people operating like that. But what you're saying then is that when people are, and more specifically, when ministerial leaders are appointed to positions by the government, that it is done to silence them.
Well, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to go that far and say that that is the
Rose, Rose
that was
laughing.
the that was the objective. I am not. I wouldn't want to go and say that was the objective, but that is the result. It may not. There would have been a genuine desire to have these people, men and women of God, around to give advice, spiritual advice. But the result is that whereas in the past they might have spoken from the heart about certain matters, now it is muted. It is muted.
So what you're saying, Rose? I don't know if you take what I'm about to say. What we're saying, Rose, is that there is no genuineness about the appointments of government, of ministers of government. It is a token act that they're engaging in, just to make the church feel that they are respected and involved. I mean, I'm just putting that out there. What are your thoughts?
Pastor Furley, I would have spoken about that on the same session. I notice, I mean, I have respect for both parties, and I do know one more than I know the other. But you see, this going right back, this thing called politics of inclusion, the concept was good. The phrase was catchy, but it destroyed many an organization. It destroyed, it silenced many a voice. I can go back to when there was an organization here that was very much a DLP organization, a community-based organization, agitated and whatever. And when there was this fund that this organization received, over $250,000. And that person who was within the DLP next election ran for the BLP and won the seat. So I am watching the move. Some of these moves are strategic, and I do believe the appointment of those two religious leaders was like tokenism, so that the church, the people can say the prime minister has brought on board spiritual advisors and I have to be very careful. But it is a way of, it is a strategic move. It is moving into certain civil society entities. It is moving into certain ethnic and racial groups, so that you would say that we are an inclusive. You know, that's the thing. You have to represent the Samoa Agreement, all of those to show that people. So how can you, Pastor John, and you, Pastor Ferdy, speak out in a forum like this when the rebuttal is, but we have two from among you. We have some evangelical people who are serving as advisors. I want to know. I have not heard them speaking out on the crime and violence. I have not heard them speaking out on issues that affect people. If you are advising or they are advising behind the scene but I don't see the evidence. I don't see the evidence. I have not seen a change in behavior. If you would go back to when they had the press conference with the Ministry of Education, the statement from the Minister of Education and Dr. Reverend Joel Cumberbatch, he was there, and it was the script, the African proverb, it takes a village to raise the child. And I heard nothing beyond a delivery. I don't see the impact or the influence in how. I have not seen a change from amongst the MPs in the lower house or the upper house. What is their role and responsibility? Tell me, what are your terms of reference? Tell me if this is a paid position. I don't know. You all can tell me. But why have you reached right into, there is a bishop of Barbados. So you have sidelined the bishop. There is, how was the selection made? Why was that selection made? What was the motive behind it? What was the agenda behind it? Because I do not see any change or due to their influence. Then the Prime Minister went
sorry,
up to the Pope.
sorry to cross your, Rose. Sorry to cross you, but I want to hear a little bit of John's take on this, because listen, I made a note here, John. When Arthur used to say to me, I don't know which church I'm speaking to.
There you go. There you go. There you
You know,
go.
I ran into one at the supermarket, and we were discussing a matter. Of course, at that time, I had a radio program, and it was about the time that the current prime minister was. I think she was the attorney general. I believe she was the attorney general at the time, and she was advocating for condoms in prison. I don't know if you all remember that.
I remember.
I remember that, yes.
And I was on radio, and I laid into the whole matter, and of course I got a call from him after I came off, and I said, but the church, this is the position of the church, and he said straight to me, he said, but he used to call me Young Nichols. He said, but Young Nichols, I don't know which church I'm talking to. You all say one thing, and there's another church that says something else, and so I don't know. So in truth and in fact, we don't even have the unity within the context of the church to address issues. If you follow what I'm saying, I mean, these things that you were putting up here tonight, Rose, advocacy and awareness, in monitoring and evaluation, ensuring that the monies that are borrowed are utilized properly. The Public Accounts Committee is supposed to be led by the leader of the opposition, and to give an account. I am hearing Kimar referring to what we call it now, off the book, so that you don't even know what it is used for. I mean, I don't know all the accountancy terms. I'm not an accountant. I just listen to what Kimar is saying. And I don't hear, it is almost as if the only thing, John, that the church seems to be interested in is getting people out of hell and into heaven. And not as focused in teaching them how to live the kingdom of God type of lifestyle on earth, that will affect their community, their society, however that is. I'm not just talking in terms of spirituality and so on. I'm talking in terms of looking after the widows, the orphans. I see that as a holistic perspective of dealing with your community and your society.
Well, they are engaged in. I say that the church is the only institution in this country that is engaged weekly in developing the citizens of Barbados. I mean, thousands of people gather in place of Christian worship every week, and somebody is teaching them about how to live and take charge of the present and the future, how to activate themselves to live out their God-given purposes. So that is something that's ongoing. However, I think the church has taken, as a general body now, the organization has taken the position, and probably rightly so, that each congregation is made up of people who support, well, let me say both parties primarily, and some who don't support any kind of party. So the church has taken the position that it is not going to come across as supporting any political party. Let the individual members decide what they will do. And I think that is proper. I think that's proper. Except of course, the corruption is so blatant, or the mismanagement is so blatant, they have to say to your people, listen, it is time for change. The day comes when you have to say it is time for change because of the systemic corruption, because of the obvious graft that's going on and bribery.
You're not hearing me. Okay. You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Sorry with that.
Okay.
If those things are so blatant, you have to say to people, listen, this I am speaking. You have to say to people, I'm on this platform, but I'm speaking on the citizen of Barbados. No, this thing cannot continue. This cannot continue. We cannot let this continue. So a change has to go. But I think the churches, the church leaders have tried in the main not to seem to be influencing their people one way or the other. And I can understand that.
But you know, John, I watched during the American elections that were just completed, a significant division in the church that, to my mind, did not engage what was right and what was wrong. It engaged what was Republican and what was Democrat. Mm-hmm. And I made a note here as you were speaking, that church leaders should speak on what is right and what is wrong, regardless of where it appears to come down. You know, I saw somebody post earlier in the comments here that because sometimes Marcia speaks, our phrase it so highly with regards to Ralph Thorne that the show is seen as a DLP supportive show. But the reality is that she speaks what is right and what is wrong. It so happens that Ralph Thorne speaks the same thing. Now, if we could get Sandra Husbands or Wilfred Abrams or any of them speaking what is right and what is wrong, then they would be able to be here on the show and address what is right and what is wrong. When I listened to the American elections, and I heard the proposition of one side supporting abortion even after birth, when I hear them supporting the illegal immigration coming across the borders, when I hear them supporting and when I hear the mainstream media strongly pushing racism, because every time they open the mouth, the only thing they're talking about is color, gender, you name it. When I hear that, I had to say to myself, but as a believer, I cannot support those positions or those policies because they're not right. not because they're democratic. And I think they have woken up to the reality that the people in America rejected them because they have been expressing things that are simply not right. It has nothing to do with the candidature on either side. It has to do with people waking up to the fact this is right, this is wrong. I heard, for example, some people concluding that because a person is a particular complexion or color, they should automatically be voting for a particular candidate or a particular party. But I am asking the question, what is right? What is wrong? If corruption is wrong, if the corruption is identified in Barbados, is a spiritual leader who comes out and speaks against the corruption a government person or an opposition person? Or is he just a citizen of the country speaking out against what is wrong?
Well, let me come back to the church leaders and positioner. There's a certain bishop in Barbados who ran for political office. I was at his church, and he made the point that he does not in any way try to influence his people to vote for one or the other. He leaves that up to his people, even though he was running for political office. So he wasn't even asking them to support the ones who lived in the constituency he was seeking to represent. He didn't even ask them to support him. He said he in his congregation, he does not in any way come across to preach, to tell people which candidates to vote for, which party to vote for. He leaves it up to them. So, but you can look. I went to speak at a DLP conference. I was asked to bring the sermon at the DLP conference, the opening of the conference. I said myself, I don't know who the DLP party know me. I mean, I like Ferdinand. I am not all of the place. I am not. So I asked myself, who recommended me to preach at this conference? But I am a man of God. When it comes to preach, I am preaching the gospel, sir.
Correct.
I am preaching the gospel. So I ain't come here to pat you on your back and make you feel good. So I preached the gospel.
And I heard it was an outstanding message.
I preach the gospel. And I'm not. So I ain't trying to back away from the gospel message. But Ferdy, if I had preached that sermon now, I might have been arrested for infringing the cybercrime bill.
Exactly. But John, years ago, I can't remember what year it was. Arthur was the prime minister, or he was the leader of the opposition. I can't remember, to be honest. I had to go back to my diary to see. They asked me to preach a message at their conference, and in that message, I indicated to Arthur, Barbados does not belong to you, and it don't belong to the DLP. The scripture says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the people and all that dwell therein. So let me understand that this country belongs to the Lord, not you, not the leader of the opposition. And that's where I was talking about the aspect then of, if you're going to celebrate something, to do it independent, celebrate since the Christianity is the major religion, because you don't find another country that got a major religion that's allowed anybody else in their religious circle to have nothing to say when they're having their thing. Not one. So why should we? Because we are Christians and we allow that? I said, no. If you want to have a celebration for Bassa or whatever that is, yeah, have a multi-faith event for that. But when it comes to the independence of our country, that's a different ballgame in my head. Straight. And he didn't take any offense. He just said to me, Reverend Nichols, I hear. As a matter of fact, he didn't respond to me in the service. I was sitting at lunch, and he was sitting at the end table, and he shouted up to me, and he said, Reverend Nichols, I have heard what you said, and if I come back to office, I will take your advice. Well, of course, he didn't come back to office. We know what happened where that is concerned. But the point of the matter is, I made my position very clear, not from a BLP or DLP position. I made my position very clear from a biblically sound doctrinal position. And if there's anything happening in the country, such as what we are seeing now, I will speak to the matter, not because I support a party, but because, well, I do support a party. I support the Jesus Party. That's who I support. I am a representative and I'm an ambassador of the kingdom of God here upon the earth. And as an ambassador, I am not allowed to change governmental policy. So when the government tells me not to get involved with X, Y, or Z, I can't, because as the ambassador, I simply cannot do that. And if you ask me to support you on a matter that my government sees differently on, I cannot do that. So don't expect me to support a bill that is going to legalize same-sex marriage, because my government is not going to support it. It's as simple as that. You don't have to agree with me, but understand that is rare, and that is not a BLP or DLP matter. If it is right, it is right. If it is wrong, it is wrong. But like somebody said here in the chat tonight, we are living at a time when right is wrong. What it is, it said right is wrong, and okay, something else is said.
Wrong
Right
is
is wrong.
right,
Right
and
is
right is wrong.
right. Something like that. That's what we are living in now, to the point they can't even define woman. You know, if I come out now and define woman and it offends somebody or hurts them, according to the cybercrime bill, I could be faced $100,000 fine or 10 years in jail.
Sir, only if you communicate that by some electronic device.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I presume that if you say but not communicated by electronic device, it might be okay.
But I don't know. I don't know about that, because they got people up in the United Kingdom that are communicating by silent electronic devices and getting arrested for praying silently outside of an abortion clinic.
So I noticed.
Right, and that is a part of the UK cybercrime bill.
But that is a very interesting situation, because how do you know that the person is praying? That's what we want to know. Because the person's lips were not moving. The person's lips were not moving. So how do you know that the person is not rehearsing for an exam? How do you know that the person is not rehearsing some poem in their head to get it into their spirit, into their heart, and into their head? They said the lips were not moving.
All I will say.
So
John,
I don't know how you gonna know somebody's praying if their lips are not moving, their hands are not clasped. Anyway,
John, I mean, we got 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes left for the program. But all I will say is this: maybe that's why Jesus, and I know all the doctrinal evidences and so on, but maybe that's why Jesus Christ got arrested and crucified, because he spoke out. He spoke out against injustice or righteousness. I guess today he would be in prison for 10 years and charge $100,000 because his services would be aired through YouTube and Facebook. And according to what one of our colleagues said tonight on one of the videos that I played, I don't know if you all heard that one. There was a guy that was arrested and charged and put in jail because he was a part of a Facebook group. He has said nothing. He has said boo. He was a part of the group. So this is why it is so important, I feel, for the church. And when I say the church, I'm going to embrace the current societal concept of what the church is, because it is going to take some significant effort, John, to transform people's thinking, to get them to understand what the genuine church, what the true church is. Because everybody seems to think that they go to church rather than the church assembling together. They go to church. So I would say that, and I would throw it out there for the church leaders to challenge them to address some of the injustices and some of the corruption, some of the odious conduct that we are seeing, some of the nooses that are being placed around the necks of Barbadians with their debt. I would really encourage them But again, like you say, maybe the politics of intimidation, not inclusion, the politics of intimidation is prevalent. And so they don't say anything. But look, we have just 1 minute left, Rose. I'm going to give you, and you have 1 minute here, Rose, just one,
Yes,
just
please.
1 minute. I'm going to give you um, a final word, and then John, a final word from you. And while you're doing that, I am going to pull up a song to close the session with. But John, thank you so much for making your way here. I understand what had happened previously. We'll just keep that between us. And Rose, thank you. Coretta, um, Honorable Coretta was actually scheduled to be on with us tonight as well, but unfortunately, she has had a power failure in her area and is unable to join us. She was unable to join us tonight. But we look forward. Of course, we were looking for Kimar as well. But we will all be back next week, Monday. And of course, we want to remind you of Wednesday night, another Marcia Week show. Marcia is going to be coming fired up for that show on Wednesday. So make sure you share, and don't miss it. So Rose, your closing words, and then after you, John, your closing comments. And we want to thank the loyal opposition for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much. And as we were speaking, I would just want to remind us that we've got power as individuals outside of that vote, which is asked for every 4 or 5 years. We've got power. We can persuade and change, and we must use it. And collectively, and as individuals, I am saying we need to have a conscience, a moral conscience, moral compass, and that should be greater than our party affiliation. That should be greater than that association. It is for the greater good. And as Christians, I sit here very pained and quiet because every time Christians get in knocking, and you know who it is? It is not the traditional, it's the Pentecostal, it's the evangelical, it's the little church in the corner. We're the ones labeled hypocrites. We're the ones that are denigrated. And we're working hard, as John says. We're praying hard. We're trying in our own ways to reach out and make a difference. And I also want to remind us that civil society is under attack. I did not have a chance to share that, but my research has shown that many civil society groups across the world, Muslims, Christians, journalists, all whomever, who constitute civil society, the heavy hand of governments is upon civil society, and we're seeing it here. And don't sit in your comfort, your place, and be critical. Get up and be involved in speaking out and be involved in that change. It starts with you. It starts with you and not the shirt that you wear, whether it be predominantly red or whether it be blue and gold. It starts with you. Find your moral compass. Find your conscience. Look beyond the stability and comfort zone. And fear is a comfort zone too. And the comfort zone called fear. And act as a craftsman of your faith. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Rose. John?
I just want to say to the believers who are with us and who are listening, look, you have a voice. I'm not a calling program person. I The first time on a calling program was about 2 or 3 times in the last 3 months. So the calling programs have been around for years and years and years. I don't even listen to them. But that is an opportunity for us to voice, to bring the biblical worldview to bear on matters that affect all the citizens and visitors and residents of this country. So that's one opportunity. We can write to the newspaper. We can write a letter to the newspaper voicing our concerns. So don't let's be said, don't think that the church is not the bishops, it's not the apostles, it's not the pastors, not the evangelists. The church is the members. So when the church is silent, it means that we are silent.
Yes.
Because we have not said anything. All right,
Yes.
so let your voice be heard in whatever forum and opportunity you have.
Thank you so very much, Rose. Thank you so very much, John. Really appreciate your contribution tonight. I don't think we have had a segment where we have actually, John, engaged the aspect of the church in the context of what we are experiencing on a national level. I think this is, I stand to be corrected. Maybe Marcy has done it and I missed it. I haven't been able to follow all the shows, but certainly with me, I think this is the first time I have had a minister on to talk about the contribution the church can make, and I'm thankful tonight that you share the perspective of the members having a voice, speaking up, and as we attended, as you rightly said, as we attended the commission in Washington. All of the young people around me, as far as I'm aware, were believers. Julio was a believer. Of course, I'm a minister. I'm a believer too, because being a minister doesn't automatically make you a believer. But certainly I am a believer, and I preach that gospel. And I was referred to within the context of that commission as Reverend. And I was happy to be able to sit with 3 young people who have all the future of their lives ahead of them, a lot of the future of their lives ahead of them, and to hear them express themselves with such strength, such power, such confidence on the behalf of the people of Barbados. And what I embraced and what I understood was, while there were only 3 people there speaking, just excluding myself for the time being, these 3 young people there speaking, my mind went back to the fact, John, that there's only one person who represents a constituency in Parliament that could comprise of 30 or 40,000 people. And so I saw 120,000 people speaking in that commission, because I saw each one of those young people representing 20 or 30,000 or 40,000 people, just like a parliamentary representative being only one person would represent a similar number of people. And so I agree with you. I want to encourage all of you loyal members of the opposition, don't just talk about the marches, turn up for the marches. Come out for the marches. When there are Paris Speaks or whatever, attend the Paris Speaks and let your voice be heard. When you writing to the newspaper, write to your parliamentary representative. Let your voice be heard. And I think it is and pardon the spelling error on my part. Mummy, please forgive me. Because if my mother had ever seen me spell lose like that, John, I tell you, I would have just had a good hiding on my backside. But the expression tonight was, when we lose our fear, they lose their power. And so I really want to encourage all of us tonight, not just your people, you're looking at your church leader, your bishop, your reverend, your pastor, your father, whatever name that your leader is called by, but you as an individual, you as a person, speak up. If you're an attorney at law, speak up. If you are a person checking in at the checking counter when you hear something, speak up. If you're putting in gas and you hear something, speak up. If you are a member of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce, speak up. Speak up for what is right. Stand for what is right. There's an old song that I think it was Lionel Harris used to sing it, and it said, if you don't stand up for what is right, you're going to fall for anything. And so it's very important. I was looking for the caption tonight to see if I could have found the caption that I set up in terms of the show tonight, and re-express that caption. I think it says something about If you stay silent on the things that matter, soon you will not matter. And I like that. If you stay silent on the things that matter, soon you will not matter. So, folk, if you stay silent on the things that matter, soon you will not matter. And so speak up, be encouraged, be strengthened, be bold, be confident. You have nothing to be afraid of. What you carry is one of the most powerful weapons in this country, and that is your vote. It is one of the most sovereign, sacred components of being a Barbadian citizen, the capacity to vote. And you can make your voice heard whenever elections are called. If we understand from the politicians that the voice of the people is the voice of God, then I want to say God is speaking. So thank you, Rose, for your contribution tonight. Fantastic. I have it. I'm going to go through it. Thank you very much for it. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to encourage those of you to share. Go on your YouTube and give us a thumbs up. I'm only seeing 160 at the moment, and there's still 534 people here. So please get your thumbs up, get your sharing going, so that the show will have more prominence in terms of YouTube. And make sure you follow on Facebook and share. So thank you, John. Thank you, Rose, for being with us tonight. I appreciate you so very much. And thank you, Loyal Opposition, for being here with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, sir.
Look forward to having you again, John. Trust
All
me.
right.
And we are going to be talking about some things. And Rose, again, tremendous presentation tonight. We'll be sharing some more again the next time we're together. All right. So God bless you guys. I think I actually had the presentation up there to share, but I think I pushed the wrong button. Monkey handling gun again. So go.
United as a nation, blessed from above, strong to have made it this far,
Unafraid of the future, surrounded.
proud of who we are. These fields and the hills, beyond recall, they lift us up and never let us fall. We write on the pages of history, legends to legacy. We will all stand together as one. This is our land forever. Yeah. Guarded by angels, heaven on earth. This is our home. Gem of the Caribbean, diamond of the world, shine your light on everyone. Yeah. Our rock in the ocean, our shelter from the storm. Guide us when tomorrow comes. Under your blue sky, let the children sing. Light up their lives, teach them everything. A road has been built for us all to be free. Yeah. Legends to legacy. Oh, we will all stand together as one. This is our land forever. Heaven on earth, this is our home,
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Loyal Opposition. And I saw someone made a note of being in touch with me sometime during this week. That's fine. Reach out to me. I'll be happy to engage you and chat with you a bit. So until the next time we're together, folk, God bless and have a great night. Bye-bye.